Steam has become a battleground for the fight over censorship online, as in the last 2 weeks alone, this story has exploded and gotten far worse than any of us could even imagine. There's a lot to go over here. Firstly, from thegamer.com, Steam users are banding together to contact Visa over removal of adult games. Quick lore, in case you don't know, Collective Shout, that's an activist group, has successfully censored Steam by going after the payment processors like Visa and MasterCard. This led to hundreds of games getting removed, but as the article I just referenced says, players are fighting back because Steam has given into these demands and remained silent on the matter ever since. Currently, the Visa and MasterCard hotlines are being bombarded constantly from what I could gather online, with thousands of people slamming their phone lines to tell MasterCard and Visa to stop the censorship they're forcing onto players. In terms of Steam, one of the ways they're doing this is through emails, sending this message as seen here on screen, which people are copying and pasting themselves via their own emails to send to these credit card companies to tell them to retract their actions. The idea of Steam players pushing back is they are vowing to leave behind Visa and MasterCard for other payment processors that are currently, anyways, not censoring people like American Express or Discover. However, the sad reality is that this too might not really work because it's really only a matter of time before these activist groups just attack and try to bend those companies as well down to their will. And if you could also like the video, or comment and subscribe to keep up to date, I would appreciate it, especially if this whole censorship thing gets worse. Channels like mine could be targeted. I thank you. Also, this Steam backlash has created petitions like from this article at gamingamigos.com, which has already surpassed 70,000 signatures from concerned players according to them. But the actual number is sitting far higher now at over 137,000 on the actual petition. Yeah, it's the same petition I spoke about in my previous video about this. Again, I will leave a link in the description so you guys can sign it yourselves since it's not region locked. Wired, however, had a very weird article attacking Steam and itch.io, which is another website that, if you don't know, got massively censored by all of this as well. As seen here, you had this critic highlighted claiming that many trans women have had their work censored by Collective Shout, calling the conservative group hateful for silencing trans voices. Also seen here, another person also attacks Collective Shout for silencing black women voices too. The point is that this issue has long since exploded far out of the whole "this is a bunch of women hating women" or men hating women thing. This is literally something where everybody, regardless of your affiliation, your religion, or whatever else you identify as, you need to put that all aside right now and just come together. I'll put this in video game terms for you guys to understand, okay? Steam is like the Citadel in the Mass Effect games, and we need to protect Steam, itch.io, and everything else, as these groups who are coming to censor you are like the frickin' Reapers FTL jumping from dark space to consume all of you. Right now, the internet is literally the plot for Mass Effect 3 pretty much, okay? We gotta stop fighting with one another. I don't really care who you voted for or what you think your gender is, because right now none of that really matters if all of you are gonna get censored into the deep reaches of nothingness if this all passes. So please, stop fighting with one another. Every journalist, every user, anyone watching this video, please just come together for this, guys, right now. Because this is way bigger than any one of us, okay? And it's getting so much worse very quickly. Because it started with Steam, and yes, while this video is about Steam, it's impossible to not also talk about what's going over right now in the UK. Because in case you somehow don't know, the UK and Australia just implemented draconian internet laws that took over that side of the internet seemingly overnight. As The Guardian states here, Australia is having changes implemented to their internet services, although at least in Australia's case, the full extent of these changes won't be in maximum effect. They still are in effect, but not maximum effect until December 2025. However, across the world over in the UK, as seen here from Telegraph.com, British citizens literally went from having all of their freedoms stolen online and being hit with these regulations within 24 hours of this thing being announced. However, TheGuardian.com had the most in-depth article on this, and the changes that we saw to Steam recently have erupted into a full-blown nationwide dogma in the UK with this online censorship. So how far does this go? Well, it's a lot, let me tell you. First of all, this all started on July 25th, 2025, very recently as this video being made anyways, And as it says here, the reason for all of this censorship changes is to, as they claim, to protect children. Yes, they're using kids as a scapegoat to strangle away the very freedoms of every single UK citizen. But it gets a lot worse. As seen here in the article, the UK has made it mandatory for every internet site to have mandatory ways to filter out what they deem to be bad content. And even more eyebrow raising, every site or service needs to have a fast way to take down content quickly. That one's a big red flag. And of course, they also state that children must have a straightforward way of voicing and reporting their concerns. And that high-risk platforms like X, because it's too much free speech for them, needs to be regulated to fit within these laws provided. This is exactly what I meant when I said in my previous video about this, that this is all a very slippery slope. Because we went from holding on to flailing helplessly down that very slope, just unable to stop now. What they mean when they say there needs to be a way to take down content quickly is not just if said content is PORN or something else. It's broadly stated because what it really means is they want easy avenues to take down any and all content they don't like with a click of a button. It's literally a law to make censorship easier for them to do. The best way to look at anything these days is if any company or government tries to implement some very weird law with, vague language on purpose, always assume that it's being done so they can get away with more than they intend to say themselves. The idea is that they want age verification to exist for the internet. Think of the internet not like a free do whatever you want place. Instead, think of the internet now like the entire thing as like a single website. And you have your one account, and they want you to sign into the internet as a whole under your full legal name and everything else, that being your account. Then, as you go do whatever it is that you're doing on the internet, they, as in the government, can now track every single thing you do, no matter where you go. So every post you make, any jokes that are politically incorrect, or in the case of Steam and beyond, any game that you play must first be okayed by your government's internet laws to exist and be available to play for you. But with Collective Shout and how they've come for what they deem to be 18 plus mature games as seen here, this is but a taste of some of the games that they have banned. Now, what could very easily happen is that your access to games will be segregated and compiled based on where you live and what each country allows. So, if your country, like let's say Australia, which has notoriously banned plenty of violent video games, thinks that the next big game coming out is too violent for their citizens, as an Australian person living there, you legally cannot even buy or play that game now on Steam, or wherever else, I guess. And because of these censorship laws, places like Steam will then have to comply with each country's nonsense in order to ensure that their storefront and their platform is available there to obviously continue making money. Then Grums, who used to work at Blizzard on Diablo, WoW, and StarCraft, chimed in on how Steam allowed itself to be regulated, and essentially bent over backwards by online censorship, and what he had to say about it is interesting. He said, "Hate to break it to you, but Steam may be over. If not today, then tomorrow." Gabe Newell has been giving interviews talking about how he is effectively retired on a boat still working, but for how long? Gabe Newell is likely thinking about passing the Steam helm to someone else or selling it to some huge publisher for mega billions. Then what? All of Steam's policies and pro-gamer stances are up for grabs. The new owners or management will likely make a lot of changes. I said this months back about Steam, which is that I personally think that the only thing that has kept Steam what it is Gabe Newell himself. Yeah, the man is getting older, he's practically retired now, and has enough money to live for the rest of his life without, really having to worry about anything. The sad reality is that Steam, unfortunately, was always going to be the platform that could, in theory, become completely compromised and ruined by this online censorship than most. Because Valve as a company is small, barely even a few hundred employees at best. Comparing them to, say, PlayStation or Nintendo's vastness is like a drop in a pond when it comes to actual paid employees working there. That has worked for decades for Steam, clearly. I mean, having a small and lean team has allowed Valve to make all sorts of decisions very quickly without having to go up the chain of command, since the chain isn't as long as, say, other companies. But it has also allowed Steam to stay, and this is really important, apolitical in most situations. But now with their bending to online censorship, this now muddies the waters. As Grum said, if not today, it's going to be tomorrow when Steam could just fall. If they were so quick to fold when it came to payment processors, being pulled into this whole censorship talk, what else do you think Steam will do in the future as well? Like me and Grum said, it's Gabe Newell that is keeping that old school freedom of speech idea alive at Valve, and I hate to say it. But when Gabe Newell passes away one day, or I guess just leaves and retires for good, or maybe he sells Valve to someone else, which could very well happen by the way, that is a reality, Steam as a platform could just become one of the most censored gaming platforms in the future. And this isn't just unique to Steam really, of course. Any platform could in theory also be censored, but Steam, unlike its competitors in PlayStation or Nintendo, are uniquely Western based. And as we know, a lot of this online censorship nonsense that is strangling the world has begun and been created and implemented largely in Western-based companies and governments outside of China, which is kind of its own world unto its own thing when it comes to, well, basically everything. Places like Japan and such, while still having their own policies, are not as crazy as the West when it comes to how they view things like adult content and more. It's far more normalized, if you will, over there than it is here about those things. And if anyone is going to fall, its platform's uniquely situated within a Western Hemisphere mindset. I guess you're all lucky that Steam and Valve don't operate out of, say, Australia or UK, because if they did, yeah, they would have been 100% censored into the pits of oblivion already. At least they're an American company. But the sad reality is that all of that's really protecting Steam is a very, and I mean very thin line between object freedom and complete and utter surrender to the regulations and laws of neighboring countries. Sure, right now the presidency in America is pro-freedom, but we know that can change in 4 years when a new election inevitably happens. And let's say that a candidate wins the next American election who is aligned with, let's just say, international demands. They could easily censor something like Steam, and again, if Gabe Newell or someone else, whatever, sells Valve to God knows who, it's pretty much over for Steam as a platform as you know it, as it used to be anyways. Look, I don't want to fearmonger you guys, but it's becoming very clear that Valve has completely lost control over Steam within a very small time frame. I also find it really suspicious how Collective Shout successfully censored Steam and other sites, and then within a very small time frame, the UK and Australia suddenly come out. Collective Shout is based in Australia, by the way, as well, and they too just start to implement their own censorship laws. It's as if it was all planned, like it all happened so fast that no one was really prepared for any of it. Because 1 second, the internet was relatively free, everything was okay, I guess, and in a span of like 8 or 9 days, we went from living peacefully to the freaking Reaper showing up out of nowhere just looking to eat us all. As this user showed, who lives in the UK, they can't even access Wikipedia anymore because they're based there. Like, think about that. Wikipedia, guys, one of the biggest sources of online information, kept alive, by the way, by users who add this information freely. And now, the entire UK, as a country, just can't access it. That's insane, isn't it? The fact that this issue is so widespread should concern you that even Yoko Taro, he's the creator of the Nier series, he also spoke about this. This article comes from automaton.com. It's a security hole that endangers democracy itself. Nier creator speaks out against payment processors pressuring Japanese adult content platforms. Here's what Yoko Taro said via X. The issue of credit card payment companies refusing payment for legal adult content. While regulations exceeding the law have been applied to publishing and other areas, it feels like a different level of danger when payment processors, which are tied to the entire distribution infrastructure, can make such decisions on their own. If payment processors are controlled, it could even be used for speech control in other countries. And Yoko Taro is right. That's the point of all of this, and he's speaking directly about how Steam has lost control of its own platforms here, by the way. So if free speech is controlled by these payment processors, then you don't have free speech anymore. All you really have then is either right or wrong beliefs, and it's going to simply be distilled to that to keep you censored. And a game like Nier Automata, which you're seeing on screen here, could not technically exist in a post-censored era. The characters, for example, like 2B and A2, are very clearly scantily clad women wearing outfits that may be seen as overtly you-know-what by these sorts of people. Meaning that, for example, if Yoko Taro wanted to push these games in, let's say, Australia in the future, and Collective Shout caught wind of this game, Automata, they could strong-arm Square Enix into censoring the game simply to meet their demands, cause they said so. Yoko Taro would also continue by saying this: it's not just about adult content regulations or freedom of expression. It feels like there's a security hole affecting democracy as a whole, and he's right. Steam and platforms like it are no longer safe havens anymore because of what has happened. And it's extra insulting since people on social media have been posting what Visa has been sending them in response to their emails about this all. As it reads, "Thank you for reaching out and sharing your perspective. As a global company, we follow the laws and regulations everywhere we do business. While we explicitly prohibit illegal activity on our network, we are equally committed to protecting legal commerce. If a transaction is legal, our policy is to process the transaction. We do not make moral judgments on legal purchases made by consumers. Visa does not moderate content sold by merchants, nor do we have the visibility into specific goods or services sold when we process a transaction. When a legally operating merchant faces an elevated risk of illegal activity, we require enhanced safeguards for the banks supporting those merchants." Except that you do, Visa. You absolutely do moderate and prohibit the sales of what can be bought with your cards. Because you literally did that with Steam and itch.io just last week, so yeah, you're kind of lying there. And they're bullish in these claims because, as seen here, there are about 1.3 billion Visa credit cards in the world that are being used, and 1.1 billion MasterCards, in case you didn't know. Visa alone, by the way, takes up 37% of all credit cards that are used in the world today. So, the fact they control more than 1/3 the transactions and purchases of users and got Steam to self-censor itself, yep, that is a massive red flag. And what Yoko Taro said is right. This is 100% an attack on the democratic rights of people, and it's being used to stop you from buying things or supporting things you like that these companies simply do not. Because I can already see it. Use your credit card to pay for Patreon for like a content creator or something. Like I have a Patreon, for example, right? How long until Patreon censors itself and cancels everyone's cards that support me because I have wrongthink? And it's not even a matter of if, because this will happen eventually, I'm pretty much convinced. And before anyone says it won't happen to America, well, that may not be true actually. Thanks to Chibi Reviews and Madam Savvy for notifying me when it came to this, but seen here it even has the same name, the Kids Online Safety Act. This very similar law, which was implemented in the UK already, is actually being introduced to American Congress right now. Currently, as you can see, it's only been introduced, not passed or anything yet anyway, as this video being made at least. But the fact that it even exists in American Congress, that should worry you. So what do we do, okay? A few things. I will leave links in the description box below for a couple of things. There is that change.org petition to get this whole thing in front of lawmakers, but there's also a UK-based petition to repeal this very blatant internet censorship law as well. But a reminder, you do need to be a UK citizen to actually sign that one, but again, I'll leave it in the description box below. However, the change.org one that you can be from anywhere, so please sign that one. And beyond this, if you're American and you're watching this video, maybe find out which governor and such looks over your state. Find their office number and call or email them with concerns to not appeal so that they can, so that they don't support this Kids Censorship Act thing. And make no mistake, okay, this is a Trojan horse that is designed to seem like it's meant to simply protect kids. But in actuality, it's to legally bind your full legal name to your online presence as like an account so that they can track your every move and spy on you. And believe me, it won't stop there because these things never do. As this user here says based on their findings, the point of this all is to age restrict and cause verifications for everybody online. But this will also allow governments to spy on your private conversations and scan anything you do for what they deem harmful content. So, if this happens, say goodbye to your privacy, because every conversation that you will have in the future will be moderated like you're on Reddit. But instead, the people running everything can also throw you in jail or worse if you do anything that they don't like. I know this video is full of a lot of doom and gloom, and I am sorry about that, but this does need to be addressed. I just want to keep you guys all informed because this is frankly scary. And it is bigger than all of us, so we need to come together now to fight back against this. Again, all links are in the description box below. Call or email your senators or whoever else before this is all too late. But as always, let me know what you think in the comments. Subscribe to keep up to date. I thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time.